Hira and Verma, and we will be presenting the webinar today. Before we begin our session, there are a few quick housekeeping points. For participants listening in French, click on the floor button at the bottom left side of the screen and select French. To see and follow along with the PowerPoint in English, click the presentation on the top left of the screen. To follow along with the presentation in French, download the French version of the presentation by clicking on the documents on the right. Feel free to download the presentation in both English and French by clicking on Documents on the right. There will be a question and answer session during the last 5 minutes of the webinar. To submit your question, please go to the toolbar on the right side. Click on Messaging and then Participants, then type in your question. You can submit your questions anytime during the webinar. If you are watching this webinar in a group, please enter the number of participants in the group by clicking on Messaging and then Participants. We will now begin our discussion. Hello, my name is Simranjit Hira and I am Ontario. Hey, my name is Rose Verma and I'm from Guelph, Ontario as well. We are from the Youth Engagement Program. Today we'll be doing our webinar on the legalization of marijuana. Starting off with a brief overview, these are some of the topics that we will be talking about in today's webinar. So, what does legalization of marijuana mean and what it is, the purposes of marijuana, the fines, penalties, and improper uses of marijuana, the details and information, the places of purchase, pros and cons of marijuana, how it is affecting our health, how we can spread awareness, and a brief question time. Well, what is marijuana? Marijuana is dried leaves, flowers, stems, and seeds from the cannabis plant. It also has many names, for example, cannabis or weed. The legalization of marijuana means that it is now legal to buy marijuana from government-approved stores and websites. The laws and regulations have also changed depending on the province or territory you live in. It also means that the usage of marijuana will go up since now it's legal and easier to access. The purposes of the legalization of marijuana. It is now legal to use marijuana for recreational, medical, or cultivational purposes, in comparison to before, when it was only legal for medical purposes. The legalization will help get rid of the black market because now people will be buying from the government instead. This will help boost our economy, and people won't have to go to black marketers and buy at skyrocketing costs. The marijuana use will be now being monitored by the government data collectors. This will help cut down on the overusage. And when people buy marijuana from the government, they know it's being sold to them, instead of buying it from a random person who could be mixing other substances into it. This will allow for safer usage and consumption of marijuana. Even though marijuana is legal, there are many rules and regulations that follow it. Moving on to the fines, penalties, and improper uses of marijuana. The legalization of marijuana comes with many rules and regulations that follow it. If there is improper use of marijuana, it can lead to many strict consequences. Some of the many penalties and fines of improper use of marijuana include possessions over the limit, which can lead up to 5 years in jail and tickets for small amounts for possessions, illegal distribution or sale, which can lead up to 14 years in jail and tickets for small amounts for illegal distribution, producing cannabis beyond personal cultivational limits or with combustible solvents can lead you up to 14 years in jail and tickets for small amounts. Taking cannabis across Canadian borders can lead you up to 14 years of jail. Giving or selling cannabis to a person under the age of 18 or 19 illegally can lead you up to 14 years of jail, and using youth to commit a cannabis-related offense can lead you up to 14 years of jail. And of course, these are just some of the many consequences to improper uses of marijuana. Moving on to the details and information of marijuana. It is legal to buy marijuana in the following provinces and territories: Ontario, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland and Labrador, PEI, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Yukon, the Northwest Territories, Nunavut, BC, and New Brunswick. You can purchase marijuana in these provinces or territories if you are 19 years of age or older. You can purchase marijuana in Alberta and Quebec if you are 18 years and older. So, Canada legalized marijuana on December 17th, 2018, which is fairly recent. And you can possess and share up to 30 grams of cannabis, whether it's dried or non-dried, from retail stores. You can purchase marijuana from a licensed provincial marijuana retailer at government-designated retail stores or online at the Ontario Cannabis Store. You can cultivate up to 4 plants per residence after buying seeds or seedlings from a retail store, and you can make cannabis products such as foods and drinks at home as long as organic solvents are not used to create concentrated products. Some of the food and drinks that you can use and make at home are brownies and cakes, which can include cannabis. Also, these are just some of the main points which highlight the legalization of marijuana. So, places of purchase. Marijuana can be purchased as fresh or dried cannabis oil, plants, and seeds. Marijuana can also be purchased from an online store, such as the Ontario's Cannabis Store. These stores and websites do require ID or prescriptions to buy for recreational and medical purposes, but for cultivational purposes, a license is required. Cultivators will go through an intense process of screening before they get their license, and a number of rules and regulations are put into place to regulate this. So, the pros and cons. Some pros of marijuana are: marijuana is effective in relieving nausea and vomiting. Marijuana can relieve the spasticity of the muscles that sometimes associate with MS and paralysis. Marijuana can relieve certain types of chronic pain and cancer. The legalization is also anticipated to lower crime rates in black market, which will also help boost your economy. And for the cons, not all cons are listed boost your economy. And for the cons, not all cons are listed on our PowerPoint. Now that it's legal, it's very easily accessible, which means it can affect teens. So teens will now be able to go on the websites and use a fake ID to buy marijuana. A perfect example of this would be us. We used our mother's ID to research the costs and types of marijuana, but we did ask for their permission, of course. Some websites just need the birthdays, which could be really dangerous because teens just have to put in a fake ID or fake birthday and get in. Currently, you can buy 30 grams per purchase. If you're buying online or in store, you can just go back and forth and just keep buying marijuana, which can lead to a lot of marijuana and people could be doing very dangerous things. This will affect the welfare of our society. The schools will not have to deal with the underage users, and the laws and regulations will have to be strictly enforced so that users can be monitored at all times. Frequent marijuana use can seriously affect your short-term and long-term memory. Marijuana can also impair your ability. It is also implicated in a high percentage of car crashes and workplace accidents. Marijuana is really addictive, and it's hard to break a habit of using it. Secondhand smoking is also a really big problem. It can cause cancer for non-smokers. For example, kids can be affected when parents or siblings are smoking marijuana. Marijuana is also considered a gateway drug for some people, which means when a person tries marijuana, he or she is more keen on trying harder or more dangerous drugs. Smoked marijuana can also contain cancer compounds, which would put a more financial pressure on the medical system and the public to provide treatment for these individuals when they have serious problems. So, how can cannabis use affect our health? The human brain fully matures and develops at age 25, which means that you make more mature decisions around that. If we think about this in terms of marijuana use, it would be safer to make wise decisions regarding the mature use of marijuana after this certain age, comparing it to now, where in some provinces you can consume marijuana if you are 18 or 19 years of age or older. If young people start smoking marijuana through illegal paths or have access to it in various ways, it can have an effect on their developing minds as it can alter brain development. There can be a decline in cognitive function and poor academic performance. But now, since marijuana is legalized in Canada, For many young Canadians, this legalization can appear less of a risk to young people, and according to global news, they say, quote unquote, if it is legal, then it must be dangerous, yet if it's legal, then it must be open. How can we spread awareness? We can spread awareness on the safe and mature usage of marijuana through many ways. And now that marijuana is legalized, we should pay more attention to providing a better education on the proper usage of marijuana, including why people might use it and other possible health effects. There could possibly be a small brochure handed out with each purchase of marijuana at retail stores about proper use and consequences. Schools can possibly update their codes of conduct regarding the legalization, which may include training staff to deal with questions on cannabis for students that may have questions, or put around strict signs which prohibit the use of marijuana on school property. Parents and caregivers who have young children or teenagers who might want to experiment with marijuana must be responsible for their safety as they are under the legal age of using marijuana. So, keeping their health and safety in mind, they should be responsible for educating their children on this. In our personal opinions, marijuana should have a legal age of purchase of at least 25 years old. As we said before, the human brain doesn't fully mature till the age of 25, which means more mature decisions at 25. But right now, the legal age is 18 or 19. And thinking of long-term effects, a person could really make bad decisions currently, and using marijuana can get more dangerous. And that can have devastating effects on their future, of their mental health and physical health. Also, in our personal opinions, we believe that along with marijuana, vaping is a big issue in today's society as well. Kids are vaping in schools, school parking lots, bathrooms, basically everywhere, and they are very addicted with the usage and the flavors. So, now that marijuana is legalized, we believe that it is easily purchasable for everyone, and it is available on almost everyone's radar. So, thank you for watching our webinar, and do you have any questions? Alright, so we have our first question. How is the legalization of marijuana similar to prohibition with alcohol? Would you like to answer this one? It's similar because the legalization of marijuana won't stop from people buying it from black marketers because it's still happening. Kind of like with the prohibition of alcohol. They stopped it, but we can still find it in places or some ways. Well, it is also similar with ending prohibition because people of underage can still get it. People still have access to it. Yeah. It'll be even easier for underage users to get marijuana because they can get their parents or older people to buy it for them, just like alcohol. So, from your perspectives, how will legalization impact the frequency of youth use? So, from our perspectives, more kids and youths are getting their hands on it because it's really easy to like buy or get from their parents. They use it so much during like in the parking lots or like at lunchtime or during parties as well. Yes. Parties. Yeah, they can like buy marijuana from online stores with their fake ID or just putting in their birthdays. So the frequent use of marijuana is definitely gonna go higher. So also another thing is that youth will be in more contact with marijuana use because cannabis could be in edibles such as brownies. So you wouldn't know if it's in there, and it can be an edible like that as well. Thank you for listening to our webinar. I hope that we could teach you some things about the legalization of marijuana, and we hope that you can help other people with this information as well.